Hey there, listen closely. The angels are connecting with your energy right now. They want to show you two really unusual things about you that have fascinated a very successful person. This person is so captivated, they just can't hold back anymore. The angels are gathered around you today, totally admiring you. They see something your heart might still be figuring out. There's something about you that's incredibly rare and beautifully strong. It's so strong that even this very composed, guarded, high-profile person has been completely charmed by it. This person is used to getting attention, often hearing flattery and surface compliments. But now, they're fascinated in a way that actually scares them a little, even if they don't admit it. And it's not just about how you look or your charm, though you definitely shine. There's something much more unique. What has really shaken this powerful person is how strongly you protect your own truth. They've seen how you stand your ground, not by being loud or egotistical, but with quiet confidence. They've watched from a distance as you've held onto your space in a world that often tries to make people smaller. And that, my friend, is the first unusual thing about you that has taken their breath away. You don't chase approval. You don't bend. You don't compromise the core of who you are just to fit someone else's idea of who you should be. You walk your own path. Even when it's lonely, even when people misunderstand, you stay true to your soul. And that strength, that inner fire, that way of being truly yourself, it has lit something inside them that they can't ignore. Type Amen if you trust in this. This successful person isn't easily impressed. They've seen ambition, beauty, and boldness, but they've never seen someone who stays so rooted in their values, even when nobody is cheering them on. In you, they see something timeless, something special, like an inner warrior whose gentleness isn't weakness, and whose silence often says more than 1,000 words. You've shown them that not everything important needs to shout to be noticed, that not every worthwhile soul needs constant validation. You arrived with dignity. You carried your past hurts without using them as weapons. You didn't try hard to impress, and somehow you've become unforgettable. They're starting to realize that what drew them to you wasn't something simple they could name. It was a feeling, a vibe, an energy that reminded them of who they used to be before life taught them to hide parts of themselves. And now they're talking about you to others. Maybe not directly, maybe not even using your name, but the things they say reveal more than they think. They talk about someone unlike anyone they've ever met. Someone who stands tall even when things get tough. Someone who can't be bought, swayed, or controlled. That's how they describe you. And when they mention your experiences or your journey, if they do, it's no longer something they try to brush aside. They're starting to see it as part of what makes you so authentic and strong. You've lived, you've overcome, and you've done it with a grace that seems almost unreal. That's the second unusual thing about you. The way your past has become your power. Most people hide their pain. You've turned yours into wisdom. And that wisdom now surrounds you like an aura, drawing them closer even when they try to pull back. Last night, when they compared you to themselves, it might have sounded like a casual, half-joking comment, but it wasn't a joke to their heart. It was a confession. They were saying, I see myself in them, but more like, they are who I wish I could have been. You reflect a version of them that is pure and free. You've chosen being real over getting approval. And that choice is what makes you so magnetic. They can't look away. They can't ignore the pull. They are fascinated by how you keep rising without needing anyone's okay. How you speak your truth, even when you feel nervous. And how you shine without ever trying to dim anyone else's light. Friend, the angels are standing strong around you today. Their presence is firm but full of deep understanding because they're watching something amazing happen in the heart of someone who wasn't supposed to be moved. Someone powerful, respected, and totally in control of their world. Someone who commands attention wherever they go, who sits confidently with their success and logic, is suddenly being affected by two things about you that challenge everything they thought they knew. And what's happening inside them isn't just simple attraction. There's something much deeper, something almost sacred. This very successful person, like a ruler in their own world, isn't standing quite as confidently anymore because the ground beneath them has shifted. Not because of chaos or noise, but because of the quiet power of your presence. You, my friend, carry an energy that's so strong and self-assured that it mirrors theirs, and yet, it makes them feel humble. They're used to being the one in charge, the one setting the tone, the one others follow. But when they look at you, they don't see a follower. They see an equal, and realizing that has shaken them up. Type, I believe, if you believe in a greater plan. The first unusual thing that has fascinated this person so deeply is that you radiate an inner authority that can't be learned or faked. Comes from your soul, not your situation. You carry yourself with a kind of poise, dignity, and emotional self-control that makes people stop and pay attention. Not because you ask for it, but because your energy commands respect. You don't need to raise your voice. Your silence speaks volumes. You don't need to prove your worth. Your presence does that the moment you enter a space. And this person, who is so used to being the strongest one around, felt something totally new when they were near you. They felt matched. They felt seen, not for their status but for their soul. And instead of feeling threatened, that sense of balance stirred something vulnerable and powerful inside them. For the first time in a long time, they met someone who didn't need them, but who chose to exist in their own power, whether anyone noticed or approved. And that, my friend, is not only rare, it's incredibly magnetic. The second unusual thing that has drawn them so powerfully to you is the interesting mix you embody. You are both strength and softness, structure and spontaneity. You have the kind of maturity that knows when to speak and when to be silent, when to stand up for something and when to let it go, when to hold steady and when to walk away. And even more beautiful than your wisdom is how you hold your boundaries. Not like walls to keep people out, but like sacred lines protecting your peace. This high-profile person, who has spent so long building things, managing expectations, and being responsible for so much and so many, finds themselves completely captivated by someone who doesn't demand anything from them, yet makes them want to offer everything. You haven't tried to push into their world. You've simply lived so fully in your own that they can't help but want to know how you do it. They are watching you with wonder, asking questions they've never asked before. How do you stay calm when others panic? How do you speak with such conviction without being harsh? How do you shine so brightly when no spotlight is even on you? Last night, when they spoke of you, perhaps to someone close or maybe just in their own private thoughts, they didn't talk about your looks first or your accomplishments. They spoke of your steadiness, your ability to carry the weight of your experiences without becoming bitter, your grace when faced with difficulty. And in a moment of surprising honesty, they said something that showed how deeply connected they feel to you. They said you look just like them, but not in a surface way. What they meant was that you remind them of the self they had to put away long ago. Their younger self, their truest self, the one who dreamed before duty took over. When they see you, they see not just an equal, but a reflection of who they want to become again. They're starting to understand that you don't mirror their achievements. You mirror their soul. And that realization, my friend, is both terrifying and freeing for someone who has never let themselves be vulnerable. Now, they are speaking of you, not with the certainty of someone in charge, but with the awe of someone who has been changed. They're starting to open up, admit things they've never said out loud. That your strength doesn't challenge them, it inspires them. That your journey doesn't create distance, it adds depth. That your quiet command has become like a song playing on repeat in their heart, one they can't stop hearing. No matter how far they run or how high they climb, they've become mesmerized. Not just by how you carry yourself, but by the fact that they carry you now, inside them energetically without you even knowing it. They feel your influence when they make decisions. They hear echoes of you in their quiet moments. And they're starting to ask themselves if all their power is worth anything if they can't share it with someone who understands the weight of it the way you seem to. The angels want you to know that your influence isn't temporary. You are not just a passing interest in the life of someone important. You are a reminder that strength can be elegant, that power can be quiet, that leadership isn't about control, it's about presence. And yours is unmatched. This person may not be ready to say all of this out loud yet, but their soul is already choosing you in 1,000 silent ways. In the way they pause when your name comes up, in the way they compare everyone else to the standard you set without even trying, in the way they begin to question everything they thought they wanted. Because your energy makes them want something more, something real, something sacred, something lasting. Friend, the angels speak today with a gentle respect because they know your soul has quietly weathered many storms. And now, the energy you've built through those quiet battles has created a ripple so powerful that even someone standing high above the world, a person guarded by power, admired by crowds, distant from emotion, has found themselves trembling in awe of you. This person, not easily moved, who walks with a polished image and rarely lets anyone too close, has been caught completely off guard by two deeply unusual qualities in you. These aren't traits they expected to be drawn to. These aren't the qualities the world usually celebrates loudly. These are the sacred, hidden parts of you that only someone looking with the eyes of the soul could recognize. And precisely because this person isn't used to being shaken, they now find themselves unable to look away, unable to let go, unable to hold themselves back. Type strong if you believe in this presence. The first thing that has captured them completely is your silent strength. The way you carry intensity with gentleness. The way your inner fire never burns wildly, but instead warms everyone around you. You have endured so much, my friend. You have walked through heartbreaks, betrayals, disappointments that could have hardened your heart. But instead, you have emerged more graceful, more patient, more composed. You have learned the art of responding instead of reacting, of softening instead of breaking. And this person, who might have once believed that power means control, that strength must be loud, is now deeply, almost painfully, drawn to the quiet power you carry in your soul. They've seen people fight for attention, beg for affection, show off their dominance, but you did none of that. You didn't try to prove you were strong. You just were. And this, more than anything, left them captivated. You did not chase them, but you stayed in their spirit. You did not demand their energy, but you lingered in their thoughts. And now they are beginning to understand. Your strength isn't in how loud you are, it's in how deeply you make others feel without saying a word. The second unusual thing about you, friend, is your ability to calm the wildness in others without trying to control them. This person, who may be successful, maybe even feared, or emotionally unavailable to most, has felt something so rare around you. Peace. Not the peace of avoiding things or just being silent, but the peace of being accepted without needing to be fixed. You never tried to change them. You never pressured them. And yet, in your presence, they felt themselves becoming more gentle, more open, more whole. That kind of energy, my friend, is special. Can't be faked. It comes only from someone who has faced their own inner battles and now walks the world with a strong heart and a healing touch. And now, this high-profile person, who once believed they had to keep people at a distance to protect their image, finds themselves aching for the softness you offer so effortlessly. They miss you in rooms filled with noise. They long for your presence when everything else feels loud and empty. Because you, and only you, bring them back to the version of themselves they've never shown the world but always hoped someone would see. Last night, when they spoke about you, perhaps in a vulnerable moment with someone they trust, or even just silently to themselves, they made a comparison they didn't fully grasp at the time. They said you looked just like them. But it wasn't about physical looks. It was a soul. Recognition. They saw in you the version of themselves they left behind when they chose ambition over authenticity, when they chose power over presence. They saw their own courage reflected in your calm. They saw their buried dreams in your eyes. And they realized something that hit them harder than they expected. You did what they couldn't. You stayed soft in a world that tried to harden you. You loved deeply when connections often stay shallow. You chose to understand rather than control. And in doing so, you became unforgettable. They're now telling others that there's something about you they can't explain, that you don't fit into any box, that you carry a kind of energy they didn't even know they needed. They may not be calling it love yet. They may not be ready to face how much you've affected them. But the angels see it. In every thought they send your way. In every time they replay your words. In every moment they feel your absence like a silence louder than any noise. And slowly their walls are starting to crumble. Not because you pushed, but because your presence is what their soul has been longing for. Music transition noted in original. Friend. Today the angels whisper with proud, glowing reverence as they show you the heart of someone powerful. someone used to standing on pedestals built by the world, someone admired, followed, and applauded for their charisma, achievements, and presence. This person is no stranger to attention or admiration. But what has happened in their heart since they crossed paths with your energy is something they never prepared for. Because while many cheer for their victories, while many crave their validation, it is you who has quietly captivated them without ever trying. And the angels want you to understand now, with total certainty and no doubt, that two deeply unusual things about you have shaken this high-profile person to their very core. It's leaving them mesmerized, unable to hold back, and questioning everything they once believed about power, presence, and the true meaning of success. Type 111. If you trust in your guardian angels. The first thing that has left them breathless, friend, is the way you walk through life as if you have nothing to prove. And yet, everywhere you go, you shift the energy in the room. You don't demand attention. It follows you. You don't seek applause. It seems to rise around you naturally because your authenticity stirs something real in people. You have this quiet, magnetic confidence that comes not from being told you're worthy, but from knowing it deep down in your bones. And this high-profile soul, who has spent years earning their position, collecting titles, and being put on stages, now finds themselves looking at you with wonder. Because while the world claps for their outward success, your soul radiates something that no spotlight can create: genuine presence. You don't perform, friend. You simply are. And in a world addicted to masks and performances, your presence is revolutionary. This person didn't expect to feel somehow met, or even a little overshadowed by someone who wasn't even trying to stand out. But you've become unforgettable. Not because you tried to rise above others, but because you walked beside them with a grace that made them want to rise with you. The second unusual thing about you, and perhaps even more mesmerizing to this person, is the way you celebrate others without dimming your own light. You are not threatened by the successes of those around you. You don't need to outshine anyone to feel seen. You lift others up while standing tall yourself. And that combination of humility and power is so rare, so disarming, that it has left this person completely unguarded around you. They've been surrounded by admirers, but they've never been surrounded by someone like you. Someone who notices their soul, not just their image. Someone who sees their struggles beneath the surface of their wins. Someone who isn't blinded by their spotlight, but who meets their gaze with genuine understanding and groundedness. And this has left them feeling completely turned around in the most beautiful way. Because you've done what no one else could. You've reminded them that being celebrated doesn't always mean being truly seen. But with you, they finally feel both. Last night, when they reflected on you, perhaps speaking quietly to someone close or lost in their own heart, they said something that even they didn't expect to admit. They said you looked just like them. But it wasn't about appearance. It was a soul comparison. It was an admission that you carry something inside you that mirrors the version of themselves they once believed in before the world put them on a pedestal. You remind them of the courage they had when they first dreamed, the hunger to be something great without compromising their soul. And now, watching you live with your own radiant, unapologetic energy, they are seeing their reflection in someone who never had to sacrifice their heart for success. That comparison wasn't shallow. It was sacred. It was their heart saying, "This is who I was meant to be, and this is who they already are." They're speaking of you now in ways that are careful but filled with awe. They say your name differently. They pause when talking about your presence. And when people ask why you've affected them this deeply, they don't have the words to explain. Because this isn't about logic. It's about energy. It's about feeling seen without being idolized. It's about feeling a connection without being controlled. And that's what you gave them, friend. A connection that didn't ask for their status but looked beneath it and saw their real self. A bond that didn't need their position but spoke to their soul. The angels want you to understand that your ability to stand in your power while honoring the light in others has created a ripple effect that is changing this person in ways you may not yet see. They are questioning what they've built, not because it isn't impressive, but because they're realizing that true success isn't about who praises you. It's about who sees you. And you see them in the quietest, realest way. And now, they're finding themselves craving your energy more than the applause, your presence more than the platform, your truth more than perfection. So hold your head high, friend. You are not just admired. You are felt deeply. You are not just someone in their memory. You are someone in their evolution. You've entered their life not as a fan or a follower, but as a mirror, a soft challenge to their carefully constructed world. And now, because of your unusual light, they are no longer content with just being seen by the world. They want to be known by you. You've reminded them of who they were before the world taught them to perform. Friend, the angels lean close to you today, a sparkle in their eyes. For they have seen the way your spirit has lit a flame in the heart of someone who was never meant to feel so deeply. Someone who stands high in the world, yet now finds themselves completely disarmed by the two unusual things about you that they never saw coming. This person, so used to structure, control, and carefully measured emotions, is now overwhelmed by the spontaneous, untamed light that you carry within. You, friend, with all your passion, curiosity, and uncontainable soul, have awakened something inside them that they thought they had buried long ago. You didn't enter their life with a plan to impress. You simply arrived, unapologetically alive, moving with a rhythm that's all your own, carrying a fire that dances through your eyes, your words, your presence. And now, even as they try to return to their world of logic and responsibility, they find themselves mesmerized because no one has ever made them feel the way you do. Type guided if you believe in divine guidance. The first unusual thing that has them captivated beyond words is the way you carry a youthful spirit that is not naive, but divinely inspired. You don't just talk about dreams. You live them. You don't ask for permission to be passionate. You give yourself permission to explore life with unfiltered joy. You embody this rare kind of fire that doesn't burn others. It lights them up. And this person, this high-profile soul who has seen so much, done so much, and yet forgotten how to feel, now finds themselves haunted in the most beautiful way by your energy. They think of the way you look at the world, as if it's still full of magic, and they wonder when they stopped believing in such things. They recall your spontaneous laughter, the way you turn even ordinary moments into something extraordinary. You make them feel like everything is still possible, like love can be new again, like life isn't meant to be predictable. It's meant to be lived with open hands and a racing heart. They are mesmerized not just by your excitement, but by your fearlessness. You are not afraid to be fully alive. And in a world full of people who perform strength but hide their desires, you are a revolution they can't turn away from. The second thing that has shaken this person to their core is your unapologetic authenticity. You do not wear masks. You do not dim your light to make others comfortable. You say what you feel, not to provoke, but to live in truth. You walk into spaces and don't conform. You inspire. They've watched you from afar, perhaps pretending not to notice, but everything about you has challenged their carefully built world. You've made them question what it means to be successful. You've made them ask themselves if they've been just existing or truly living. Because you, friend, don't just exist. You burn. You breathe life into silence. You bring warmth into rooms that were cold long before you arrived. And that energy, that fire, that refusal to be anything less than everything you are, that has captivated them beyond logic. They don't even understand why they're drawn to you so deeply. All they know is that nothing else feels quite as alive as you. Last night, in a moment they didn't expect to mean so much, they compared you to themselves. They may have laughed when they said it. They may have tried to brush it off. But the truth was deeper than the words they used. They saw in you the part of themselves they lost along the way. They saw the version of them that once dared to dream, that once believed love could be real, that once followed excitement instead of plans. When they said you looked like them, they weren't talking about the outside. They were talking about the soul. And in that moment, something shifted. Because they realized they don't just admire you. They miss you when you're not there. They crave your energy when everything else feels dull. They ache to return to the part of themselves that only wakes up when you're near. And now they're telling others about you. Maybe not directly. Maybe they're still guarding their words. But their tone has changed. They speak of you like someone who changed everything. Like someone who walked into their life without knocking and rearranged the furniture of their heart. They say things like, "They're different," or "There's just something about them." And when they speak those words, their eyes soften. Because this is not just fascination. It's longing. Longing for more of the freedom you embody. Longing for more of the realness you offer. Longing for you, your laughter, your spirit, your presence. You've become the spark that refuses to go out in them. And now, no matter how they try to go back to the world they built before you, nothing feels the same. Nothing feels enough. The angels want you to understand that this is not fleeting. This is not about superficial attraction or momentary excitement. You have reached into the core of someone who doesn't let many people near. You've touched the child within them, the dreamer they buried, the fire they tried to extinguish in exchange for control. And now, because of you, that fire is burning again. That heart is waking up. That soul is starting to remember what it means to feel free. You've become the message they didn't know they needed. The invitation to return to truth. And even if they can't speak it yet, they are already following you in thoughts, in feelings, in energy. So do not hold back your light, friend. Do not second-guess your boldness, your joy, your passion. Those are the very things that have cracked open a soul who thought they had everything figured out. Your fire is not too much. It is exactly what this world, and this person, needed to feel again. You were not sent to fit in. You were sent to ignite. Music transition noted in original. Friend, today the angels step forward gently. Their voices hushed yet filled with awe, because they have seen something miraculous taking shape. A sacred unfolding that is happening quietly in the heart of someone powerful. Someone important in the world's eyes, but now deeply stirred by something they never anticipated. This person, surrounded by sophistication, intellect, admiration, and strategy, is finding themselves disarmed by two deeply unusual qualities in you. Qualities they never expected to long for but now cannot live without. And the angels want you to understand truly and fully that the reason this person can no longer hold themselves back is not because you impress them, but because you touch something in them that has not been touched in a very long time. You reached the part of them that no praise, no spotlight, no accomplishment ever managed to awaken. The part that still believes in love, still hopes for magic, still aches to be seen without judgment and loved without condition. And you, friend, in your soft, unguarded, emotionally pure way, became the answer to a prayer they never had the courage to speak aloud. The first unusual thing that has completely mesmerized them is your emotional sincerity. The way your heart lives right at the surface, not out of weakness, but out of courage. In a world where everyone hides behind filters, masks, and rehearsed words, you feel like fresh rain after a long drought. You say what you feel without calculating the cost. You express vulnerability not as a tactic, but as truth. And this person, so used to people pretending, performing, withholding, found themselves completely undone when they looked into your eyes and realized you were real. That you weren't trying to win them over. That you weren't trying to gain favor or access or status. You simply showed up as yourself, open, emotionally available, and wonderfully unguarded. And it cracked open something in them that had been locked away for years. They saw in you what they didn't know they needed. Someone who doesn't lead with pride, but with presence. Someone who doesn't armor themselves in perfection, but shows their softness as a kind of sacred power. And in that moment, when your heart reached out to theirs with nothing but honesty, they realized they could never go back to a world where people only pretend to care. Because you care, and that is your power. The second unusual thing about you, friend, is the way you still believe. You believe in love that heals, in conversations that change lives, in connections that feel written in the stars. You hold this gentle, dreamlike wonder that most people lost long ago. But you didn't lose it, you protected it. And this person, this high-profile soul who's seen the harsh side of life, who's been hardened by betrayal, disillusionment, and responsibility, now finds themselves mesmerized by your innocence. Not because it is naive, but because it is courageous. You believe, not because you haven't been hurt, but because you've chosen not to let those wounds make you cold. You've loved after loss. You've dreamed after disappointment. You've stayed soft in a world that tried to harden you. And that is what's making them fall apart inside. They didn't expect to be moved by someone who leads with heart instead of agenda. They didn't expect to feel safe in the presence of someone who doesn't try to fix them, but simply listens. They didn't expect that you, in all your gentle honesty, would become the one thing they now crave more than control, more than logic, more than any success they've ever known. Last night, when they said you looked just like them, it may have sounded lighthearted, maybe even casual, but the angels saw the truth beneath it. That wasn't about physical resemblance. That was their soul speaking a truth their mind hasn't caught up to. They were saying, this person is the me I used to be, or the me I wish I had the courage to become again. When they look at you, they see the version of themselves that still dared to dream, the version that hadn't yet learned to guard every word, calculate every move, suppress every feeling. And now, in the stillness of night, when no one's watching, they replay your words, your laughter, your gaze, and they ache. Not out of sadness, but out of longing. Because you remind them of everything they lost when they traded emotional freedom for emotional safety. And now they want that freedom again. But they don't want it alone. They want it with you. They are speaking of you now, even if you don't hear it. In small ways, in vulnerable moments, in places where their image doesn't matter. They are saying things like, I've never met anyone like them. Or, they feel different. Or even, they see through me, and it doesn't scare me. It comforts me. They are not used to feeling exposed without feeling threatened. But you have made that possible. You have made them feel like they can be human again. Like they can admit their confusion, their emotions, their buried hopes, and not be judged. You've made space for their heart to speak without being silenced by their mind. And now they find themselves thinking about you more than they thought they would, caring more than they meant to, needing more than they're ready to admit. Because you, in all your emotional truth, have become their quiet obsession. The angels want you to know that your softness is not a flaw. It is your superpower. Your honesty is not too much. It is the very medicine this world, and this person, needs. You were never meant to be hardened. You were meant to heal. And this person, no matter how high above the world they may seem, has felt that healing begin inside them because of you. They are no longer looking at power the same way. They are no longer satisfied with conversations that lack depth, with connections that lack heart. You've changed what they crave. And even if they are still figuring out what to do with these feelings, the shift has already happened. You've touched a place in them that no one else has ever reached. So walk forward, friend, with the full knowing that you did not just catch their attention. You touched their truth. And no matter how long it takes them to act on it, they will never be the same. You have reminded them of who they were before they forgot. And now, because of your presence, they are remembering. They are beginning to feel. They are longing for a kind of connection that only you could awaken. And the angels are smiling because what you offered with your open heart has